High performers do not complain. Who is the president? What are their values? Yes, the president of a company has a tremendous impact, whether it's a large or small organization. The president has a tremendous impact onto the culture of that company because how he or she communicates, their attitude trickles down into all facets of the organization. Sure, for a larger company, it can take more time for that attitude or that essence to trickle throughout the organization, but it does. And subconsciously or consciously, people at all levels of the organization start picking up on mannerisms of that president and their attitudes and their values. So the best way to evaluate that is, okay, 3 ways. 1, go to the website and see if there's a message from the president. Has that president taken the time to write a message to the general public about who they are and their values, etc.? A lot of the time, I notice these can be quite generic, but the fact that they have taken time to make one does give you something to pick up on and allude to in interviews and to explore in interviews. I notice on your website, it talks about tell me more about this. And then if you see the interviewer light up and, oh yeah, let me tell you more about that, then that tells you that there's a lot of cohesion in that company around those values and that culture. Whether or not that statement is really unique and versus cliche, you'll be able to sense whether people are buying into that. Whereas if they're like, it says that on the website, then that happens too. I've seen those reactions and it does say a lot about the company and their cohesion. You know, just checking a box as opposed to really walking the walk of what they say they do and why they do it. The second way is just look for articles by that president. Could be interviews in magazines, chambers of commerce, for example. Just search the president's name in Google and see what comes up. And you should be able to find some things pretty quickly. If you search in news specifically, you should be able to see any interviews they may have had recently with media or at industry conferences, etc. And you can get a sense of how active they are. You know, any media related articles or interviews or quotes can be quite powerful because oftentimes those are coming straight from the president's heart as opposed to being pre-scripted just, in a press release. Press releases are important too, to know what's going on and take note of the deliberation that they've put into crafting that press release. But when the media is asking questions off the fly and the president is responding off the cuff of his or her thoughts, that also says a lot about the organization and how in tune that leader is with the pulse of the organization itself and where they're going and the significance of that. The third way, YouTube videos and interviews as well. So just go in YouTube, type in the president's name and sort by most recent, see what comes up. And these 3 ways will give you a sense of how engaged the president is with the public, what they're saying, and how cohesive of a culture that's creating around them, how genuine that is. So hope that helps you to discern from the behavior of the president of the company. Then how the leadership team is structured. This can be very significant and one that I have sometimes overlooked and forgot to appreciate how significant this can be because a simple change on an org chart can have a profound effect. I'll give you an example. So there's 2 big European healthcare companies. Both are tens of thousands of people globally and tens of billions of dollars revenue. One in Japan, so the Japan affiliate or Japan branch, has a direct report line to the president. The other has a dotted line to the Japan president and a solid line to global line heads. Okay, a line head is someone who's the top of an organization. So president manages a team of country leaders that covers commercial business unit heads, IT, logistics, and so on. But a dotted line means that the president in Japan is somewhat supervising them. Hey, how's it going? What can I do to help you? It's more supervisory rather than key accountability for their deliverables, which is the solid line responsibility. It also means that indicates the level of autonomy they have in Japan on decision making. So if you can see a solid line to Japan president or whoever your superior is, whoever your, I should say, manager, the head of your country is, maybe the president, general manager, managing director, CEO, representative director. These are all different titles for the same essential position, which is the top of the company in a country. And a solid line means that they're going to have more autonomy. They're not only going to have more autonomy, but they're going to be accountable to their superior for your results as well, which means they're going to have more influence on your accountability, but also be able to help you more to remove bottlenecks and align globally or regionally with whatever it is you need to be done. Whereas a dotted line means you're going to have more of a little bit more hands-off relationship with them. You know, that person may still be very hands-on personality and love to engage with you and have frequent touch points, but having a dotted line with them means they're sort of just kind of holding down the fort in a sense, and they're there to be a supporter of you, know what's going on, but there's going to be kind of a limit to what they can do because your ultimate accountability is to your direct line. So because of these two differences in these very similar big European organizations, the culture of the company and speed of decision making is very different. Now, it's not good or bad, it just is what it is, and there's a pro and con for each. So just think about who is going to be your direct report line and the pro and con of that. Okay. Another thing you can look at is where do their employees join from and leave to? So you can kind of get a sense of the flow and culture. And let's say that it's a company that has a lot of employees joining from a competitor, one specific competitor, then that tells you a lot about, there's some sort of chain migration going on. And it's something that will be good to ask about during the interview process is, I notice you have a lot of employees joining from so-and-so company. What's the story behind that? How has that impacted the company culture? And vice versa, you may notice that there's a lot of employees that have tended to leave and go to a competitor. There could be a story behind that as well. And you might notice that the positioning of this company in the industry is maybe disadvantageous because there's a reason behind why those employees are leaving. A change in leadership, a revised compensation plan that's too confusing and that nobody likes. So just another indicator to pick up on them. And, beyond just the employees and the president, also look at the leadership team. You should be able to find them on the who we are or about our team on the website. And by looking at who those leadership members are, their background, and how many of them are compared to the size of the company, you can get a bit of a sense for not only the culture of the leadership team and, perhaps you have connections to some of them, but it can also indicate how top down or how bottom up that company is, because if there's a lot of people on the leadership team compared to the size of the company itself, then it tells you that there's a bit of a boys club, for lack of a better term there, or an exclusive level of authority that regardless of the balance of men and women, hopefully it's a balanced team, of course, but that can tell you a lot about the divide in the company between the politicians who are in charge and the common folks. We want to see a good balance there of both men and women, but also you want to see that there aren't too many people on that leadership team and that it's evenly distributed across the functions of the company. Another thing we want to look at is how well the website's designed. So simply looking at a website and thinking, this is a well-designed website, indicates a lot of thought that's been put into the experience of the customer. And I typically find that translates into the experience as an employee and as a partner as well. So just looking at the website and how well it's designed, how up to date it is, how clear and impactful it is can say a lot about the company. And finally, what do employees say about working there? There are websites like Glassdoor, Indeed, where anyone can go and post comments about a company and what it's like working there. LinkedIn, I would say, is a more credible way to gather insights about what it's like working at a company, because you'll be able to reach out in a off the record way, meaning it's not, it's a casual outreach to alumni from your university or former colleagues and acquaintances that who have joined there, just to say, hey, how you doing? I'm just curious to know how your experience has been so far at such and such company. What's it like? I'm actually looking around right now. and see what they have to say. If the person's been in the company for 1 or 2 years or more, then that should be a pretty credible thing. If they've just joined and it's 1 or 2 years in, then they can often either have surprises that they're coming to terms with, or they're still in a little bit of the honeymoon phase where they're in love with the company and haven't, faced challenges of what it's like to actually be in a company for an extended period of time, like 3 to 5 years. So if they've been in the company 3 to 5 years and they still have positive things to say, then that's a very credible feedback, because they're probably able to have a balanced comment to you saying, yeah, it's great because of this, but probably not great for someone who needs or wants da-da-da-da-da. That's going to be very healthy feedback, not just all negative or not just all positive. Speaking of which, a word of caution, and this is perhaps one of the most important bits of insight that you can get from this module and even this course. And that is, when listening to other people's opinions about their companies and career advice and reputation feedback about their companies, etc., beware of anyone who complains, and take anything said by employees who have less than 3 years in the company with a grain of salt. High performers do not complain. It has a direct effect on someone's psychology and what they attract into life. And if they have been in the company less than 3 years, they are almost certainly going through inevitable growing pains, which we all have. And I implore you to be very careful about what you let into your mind. Avoid negativity altogether, unless it's being said in a very constructive and mature way, of course. And instead, identify role models. Seek mentors you can learn from, how you can get to where they've gotten to. Learn from those that have taken the steps that you're seeking to take. These probably can't be found online, but rather, through your own network. Ask around, who do you know someone who could teach me about such and such? And this is a great way to stand out in the interview process as well, because if you can say, hey, I'd really like to learn more about your company's is who in the company is best known for this. And this can help you stand out as someone who just wants to be the best version of themselves, not for attention, but because of your humble desire to succeed. And it will help you getting close with the most respected and influential people in the company after joining too. So this tip alone could change the course of your career.